Somewhere in your company right now, there's an AI system that nobody has classified. And under the EU AI Act, whether that system counts as high risk isn't an option. It's a specific test that you have to do. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the exact decision tree that I use with clients. And by the end, you'll be able to look at any AI system that you own and say with confidence, high risk or not, and also know why. Hi, I am Obi, and I am a researcher and a consultant in behavioral cybersecurity and AI governance. And this is a single question that I get asked more than any other. So let's actually go through it. Now, the quick reason this is worth 5 minutes of your attention is this. The label high risk is a switch that turns on almost every serious obligation in the EU AI Act. Things like risk management, documentation, human oversight, and the works. Now, get the classification wrong in one direction and you burn budget, governing something that you didn't need to do in the first place. Get it wrong in the other direction and you're exposed on a system that regulators expect you to have locked down. So the classification is a decision. Everything downstream depends on it. So let's go branch by branch. The first branch, and don't skip this one, is your system even in scope. And the Act has its own definition of what an AI system is. And an AI system, broadly speaking, is something that infers, something that generates outputs like predictions, recommendations, or decisions from the data that it takes in. A plain fixed rule, something like if balance is under 0, flag it. It's usually just a software. A model that learns patterns and scores people or things, that's an AI under the EU AI Act. So for branch 1, ask whether it infers or whether it just follows rules that are hard-coded. If it's a pure hard-coded logic, you can usually just stop right there. And if it does infer, that's your signal to keep going. Now, the second branch is a big one. The Act names the specific high-stakes use cases in a section called Annex III. This is a list. You check your systems against this list. You ask one plain question. What does this system decide about a person? Does it screen job applicants or decide who gets hired or promoted? It's on the list. Does it score someone for credit or a loan? It's on the list. Does it decide access to education or grade people? On the list. Biometrics, identification, critical infrastructure like power, water, law enforcement, migration, and border control, all on the list. So pull up your system, write down the decision that it makes about a human being, and hold it against these categories. Not on the list anywhere, you're very likely not high risk. That's a legitimate defensible answer. On the list, well, don't panic yet because there's an exception rule that most people miss. A quick gut check before we even keep going. Pause for just a second and picture one AI system that your team actually owns, the real one, and hold it in your mind through the rest of the tree. This next branch is where even careful teams get it wrong. And it's a lot easier to catch when you're looking at something specific instead of a hypothetical system. Being on the Annex III list doesn't automatically make you high risk. There's an exception. If your system only performs a narrow procedural task or just improves the output of a work that someone already did, or even flags something for a human being to review without replacing that human's judgment, then it falls out of the high-risk category. The word that matters here is meaningful. Is a human genuinely making the final call with the AI just assisting, or does the AI decide on its own? These are two different worlds. So this part is important. So please hear it. You don't get to just assume that the exception applies to you and your system and you just move on. You have to document your reasoning and keep that reasoning on file. Because when a regulator asks you, why did you decide this one wasn't high risk? A shrug is not a defense. You have to have a written rationale for that. Now let's come to the fourth branch. And this one is the one that blindsides even product companies. Beyond that first list, there's a second one called Annex I. And it covers AI that acts as a safety component inside a product that's already regulated. So think of things like toys, medical devices, machinery, and vehicles. If your AI helps keep one of these safe, it can become a high risk system, even though it is nowhere near hiring or credit. So run both checks. People check the first list and feel relieved and just walk right past the one that actually applies to them. So let's say you run the tree and you land on high risk. What does that actually mean? It means real obligations start to kick in. For example, you need to have a risk management system in place. You need to have a quality data governance in place, technical documentation, human oversight, login and record keeping, as well as a conformity assessment before you go to market with that system. And the cost of ignoring it is not small. For high-risk non-compliance, the penalties run up to £15 million or 3% of a global annual turnover, whichever is higher. So do me a favor and run this on one real system that you actually own this week. Not as a thought experiment, but for real. That's when this stops being a video and starts being useful. Once you've confirmed that a system is high risk, the natural next question is, okay, now, so what do I actually do? I walk through a full risk assessment from start to finish, screen shared in this video right here. So go watch that next. I'll see you on the next one.